There is a line in the sand that every Canadian knows the government is not supposed to cross. There is a sacred pact, an unwritten rule that has held this country's fragile middle class together for generations. That rule is simple. Your home is your castle, and when you sell the roof over your head, the profit you made, the sweat equity you built over 30 years of mortgage payments, renovations, and sacrifice belongs to you and you alone. It is called the primary residence exemption. It is the last tax haven for the average citizen. It is the only retirement plan most Canadians have left. But I am here to tell you today that the pact is broken. The line has been crossed. While they distract you with culture wars and scandals in the House of Commons, the Liberal government, backed by their NDP partners and guided by the globalist philosophy of Mark Carney, is preparing to commit the greatest act of wealth confiscation in our history. They are coming for your home equity. We have been hearing the whispers for years. We have seen the academic papers funded by the CMHC. We have seen the policy nudges from radical think tanks suggesting that it is unfair for homeowners to keep their profits tax-free. They called it a conspiracy theory. They laughed at us when we warned you during the last election. They looked into the cameras and said, "We have no plans to tax primary residences." Do not believe them. They said they had no plans to increase the carbon tax to punishing levels, and look at your gas bill. They said the budget would balance itself, and look at our deficit. Their promises are worth nothing. And now, the math simply leaves them no choice. They have spent this country into oblivion. The national debt is unsustainable. The interest payments on that debt alone are eating up our social services. They have tapped out the income tax. You are already squeezed dry. They have chased away business investment with their regulations. There is only one pot of gold left in Canada. There is only one place where trillions of dollars of wealth are sitting, untouched by the taxman's greedy hands. It is in the equity of your home, and they are looking at it like a starving wolf looks at a wounded deer. If you suspect that Ottawa is plotting against your financial future, do me a favor right now and hit that like button. It helps us break through the suppression algorithm and get this warning out to as many homeowners as possible. But the rumor circulating in Ottawa right now involves a tiered equity levy. Notice how they won't use the word tax, they will call it a fairness charge or an anti-speculation measure. They will tell you it's only for the rich. They will say it only applies if your house makes over a certain amount of profit. But we know how this works. The income tax was originally only for the super rich to pay for World War I. Now the government takes half your paycheck. Once they open the door to taxing your home, they will never ever close it. Imagine the scenario. You bought your house in the suburbs of Toronto or Vancouver or Calgary 20 years ago for $400,000. Today, thanks to the inflation they caused by printing money, it is worth $1.2 million. On paper, you are rich. In reality, you are just living in the same house. You haven't cashed out, you haven't lived a lavish lifestyle, you just paid your mortgage. Now, you want to downsize. You want to sell that family home to fund your retirement because the Canada Pension Plan pays you peanuts. Under this new proposed scheme, the government steps in at the closing table. They look at that $800,000 gain, a gain that is mostly just inflation, and they say, "That's not fair. You didn't earn that. That was luck." And they demand 25%, maybe 50% of it. Hundreds of thousands of dollars snatched from your pocket at the moment you need it most. This isn't taxation, it is expropriation. Why are they doing this? It isn't just about the money, although they are desperate for cash. It is about ideology. We have to understand the mindset of people like Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney. They do not believe in private property rights the way you and I do. They subscribe to a post-national collectivist worldview where your success is viewed as a policy failure. To them, the fact that you own a home and have built wealth independently of the state is a problem. It makes you too free. It makes you less dependent on their handouts. If you have $1 million in equity, you can retire without their help. You can help your children buy a home without their programs. You are sovereign. They want a nation of renters. Look at their policies. Everything they do favors the large corporate landlords and penalizes the small individual owner. A renter is dependent. A renter needs rent control. A renter needs housing benefits. A renter is a reliable voter for big government socialism. At a homeowner who just watched the government steal half their retirement nest egg, that is a dangerous person to the establishment. This is class warfare, plain and simple. But it's not the rich they are attacking. The ultra-rich have their money in trusts, in offshore accounts, in complex corporate structures. They have armies of lawyers to avoid this tax. The person who gets hit is the teacher, the nurse, the truck driver who spent 30 years paying off a bungalow, the person whose entire life savings is tied up in 4 walls and a roof. There is a group called Generation Squeeze. You might have heard of them. They are heavily funded by government agencies. They have been lobbying for years to tax housing wealth. Their argument is that it is unfair for older Canadians to have so much equity while younger Canadians have none. And this is the classic divide and conquer strategy. They want to turn the youth against their parents and grandparents. They want the 25-year-old who is locked out of the market to look at the 60-year-old retiree with anger. They say, "Look, that boomer is hoarding wealth. We should tax them to build affordable housing for you." It is a lie. Taxing grandma's house won't build a single new apartment for a student. The money will disappear into the black hole of general government revenue. It will go to pay for consultants, for foreign aid, for the CBC bonuses. It will not lower the price of housing. In fact, it will do the exact opposite. If you are sick of the government trying to pit generations against each other to cover up their own failures, please subscribe to this channel. We are building a community that sees through the lies, and we need you on board. Think about the economics of this. If you tell homeowners that they will be hit with a massive tax bill the moment they sell, what will they do? They won't sell. It is basic human psychology. If I live in a large house that is too big for me, but I know that selling it triggers a $200,000 tax bill, I will just stay put. I will die in that house. This creates a lock-in effect. Inventory will vanish. The supply of resale homes will crash to zero. And when supply crashes, what happens to prices? They skyrocket. So the young people this policy is supposed to help will actually be worse off. They will face a market with no listings driven by a government that has destroyed the incentive to move. It is economic illiteracy of the highest order, but these people are not stupid. They know this. Which leads us to the terrifying conclusion. They don't care if it breaks the market. They don't care if it hurts the young. They just want the money. They are like junkies looking for their next fix, and your home equity is the copper wiring in the walls. They will rip it out and burn the house down just to get it. We cannot talk about this threat without talking about Mark Carney. The media loves to paint him as the adult in the room, the liberal savior, the man who will replace Trudeau and fix the mess. You need to understand that Mark Carney is more dangerous than Justin Trudeau. Trudeau is an ideologue, yes, but he is also intellectually shallow. He reads the lines he is given. Mark Carney writes the lines. Carney is a true believer in the Great Reset, and he is the one who pushes the idea that climate justice requires economic redistribution. In Carney's world, your home equity is unearned increment. He believes that the rise in value of your land is a societal mistake that should be corrected by the state. He has spoken about this at global summits. He frames it as inequality. Imagine having a prime minister who looks at your bank account and sees a mistake that he needs to correct. That is what we are facing if this agenda goes through. And let's look at the timing. Why is this leaking now, in early 2026? Because the mortgage renewal cliff is here. They know the housing market is teetering. They know prices are softening. They want to grab their slice of the pie before the value drops. It is a smash and grab robbery before the police arrive. They are also desperate to fund their new social programs to buy votes before the next election. They have promised pharmacare, dental care, daycare. Billions and billions of dollars of structural spending with no revenue source. They cannot print any more money without triggering hyperinflation. They have to tax something. What is left? Your RRSPs are too small. Your income is tapped out. The only thing left is the house. This leaked proposal, the home equity tax, is likely sitting in a binder on Chrystia Freeland's desk right now, marked for emergency use. They are waiting for the right crisis to unleash it. Maybe they will say it's to pay for climate change adaptation. Maybe they will say it's to pay down the COVID debt. The excuse doesn't matter. The result is the same. The government becomes a co-owner of your property. When I want you to pause and think about what that means for your family, think about the inheritance you plan to leave your children. If the government takes 50% of the gain when you die or sell, that generational wealth is gone. The ladder is pulled up. Your children start from zero, dependent on the state, just like they want. This is the systematic dismantling of the middle class. It is the end of the Canadian dream as we know it. If this makes your blood boil, you are not alone. Leave a comment below. Hands off my house. Let them see the anger. Let them see that we are watching. How will they try to sell this to you? Because they know it is political suicide if they are honest. They will lie. They will use the boiling frog technique. They won't start with 50%. They will start with 5%. They will say, oh, and this is just a small surcharge on homes sold for over $2 million. They will appeal to your sense of envy. Why should the rich guy in the mansion pay no tax? Most people will shrug. I don't have a $2 million house, you will say. This doesn't affect me. That is the trap. The moment they legislate the mechanism to tax a primary residence, the game is over. Once the tax code is changed, all they have to do is lower the threshold. Next year, it's homes over $1.5 million, then $1 million, then, eventually, every single sale. Remember income tax? It was introduced as a temporary measure for the rich. Now they tax the teenager working at McDonald's. They will also try to bundle it with other things. They might hide it in a massive omnibus budget bill, buried on page 400, then were wrapped in language about housing fairness. They rely on the fact that you are too busy working to read the fine print. They rely on the mainstream media, CBC, CTV, Global, to not report it. The media will run interference for them. They will interview experts who say that taxing home equity is good for the economy and modernizes our tax system. They will gaslight you into thinking you are selfish for wanting to keep what you earned. But let's look at the reality of home ownership. It isn't just luck. It is replacing the roof for $10,000. It is fixing the furnace in the middle of winter. It is paying property taxes every year for decades, taxes that have already risen faster than inflation. You have already paid tax on the money you used to pay the mortgage. You pay tax on the maintenance. You pay tax on the utilities. And now they want a cut of the final sale? It is double, triple, quadruple taxation. Furthermore, they ignore inflation. If you bought a house for $300,000 and sold it for $600,000 20 years later, you haven't actually made a massive profit in real terms. The dollar is worth half of what it was. The government destroyed the value of the currency, and now they want to tax you on the nominal increase caused by their own incompetence. It is criminal. They are penalizing you for trying to preserve your purchasing power. This is why we see the rise of the Western separation sentiment. In Alberta and Saskatchewan, where people understand economics and property rights, this idea of a home equity tax is a red line. It is the kind of policy that breaks a confederation. Well, if Ottawa tries to reach into the pockets of homeowners in Calgary to pay for their failures in Ottawa, the pushback will be unlike anything we have ever seen. It won't just be protests. It will be a tax revolt. It will be provinces refusing to collect. We are heading toward a constitutional crisis, all because this government cannot control its spending addiction. We are entering the danger zone. The spring budget of 2026 is coming. The rumors are getting louder. The leaks are becoming more specific. You need to prepare. You need to talk to your financial advisor, not the one at the bank who works for the system, but an independent one. You need to look at your assets. But more importantly, we need to make this politically impossible for them. Politicians are cowards. They respond to two things: fear and money. Right now, they need your money. We need to make them fear the consequences of taking it. We need to make no home equity tax the single biggest issue of the next election. We need to force every member of parliament, Liberal, NDP, or Conservative, to go on the record. Do you support taxing the sale of primary residences? Yes or no? If they hesitate, if they give you a word salad answer about fairness and reviewing the tax code, you know the answer is yes. You vote them out. We cannot afford to be passive. The silent majority can no longer be silent. If we stay quiet, we will wake up one morning and find that the law has passed, and 50% of our net worth has been signed away by the stroke of a pen. This channel, Real Canada Pulse, was created for this exact purpose: to sound the alarm when the others stay silent, and to shine a light on the cockroaches scurrying in the dark corners of Parliament Hill. We are going to keep digging. We are going to find the memos. We are going to name the names of the bureaucrats and politicians pushing this agenda, but we can't do it without you. Share this video. Send it to your parents. Send it to your neighbors. Post it on Facebook, on X, on your community groups. The media will try to censor it. They will call it misinformation. That is how you know it is true. The home equity tax is not a myth. It is the logical endgame of a socialist government that has run out of other people's money. They are coming for the house. They are coming for the legacy you built for your children. Stand up, speak out, protect what is yours. This is Real Canada Pulse. The government is betting against you. It's time we bet on ourselves. Subscribe now and I will see you on the front lines in the next video. Stay vigilant, Canada.